Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, we'll continue our book reading this morning, Advanced Selling Strategy by Brian Tracy. We're in chapter 9, and we're still looking at presentation tools. So far, we've read on 5 presentation tools you have to have or you have to do before going into a presentation. Yesterday, the last paragraph we read, that is the 5th presentation tool, and tools is practice and rehearsal. Practice and rehearsal. You have to practice, you have to rehearse, you have to, organize yourself before going to meet a client. Look for informations, acclimatize yourself with your customers' information, their industry, what they do, and how they do what they do, what products they produce, how long they've been in the industry. Just get all these informations that you need concerning your customer. Go over them once again before going to see your client or before having a meeting with your client. So today we're looking at the 6th final presentation tool that can give you the winning edge, which is excellent healthy habits, on page 343. I think that is the last tools for presentation. So the 6th and final presentation tool that can give you the winning edge in the sales conversation is excellent healthy habits, or rather excellent health habits. The quality of personal magnetism that you emanate as a salesperson affects the customer at a subconscious level and has a great influence over the eventual result of the sale. All top salesperson or salespeople seem to be positive and energetic, alert and enthusiastic, bright and cheerful. The immediate impression they give to a prospect is that they are fully rested, primed for action, and ready to do business. As explained earlier, the keys to building and maintaining high levels of energy and enthusiasm are diet, exercise, and rest. I've met thousands of top salespeople, and I have been amazed to discover how many of them have vigorously personal exercise programs. Many of the high-paid salespeople in America are marathon runners or triathletes or engaged in some competitive sport. And because they are so fit, they make a positive impression on their customers that exerts a powerful influence on the entire sales conversation. Finally, you should get lots of rest, at least 7 to 8 hours a night, and go to bed early. When you go to bed early, you can get up early and plan your whole day before the average person even gets out of bed. In my studies of successful people over the years, I've never found anyone who was a late riser. In addition to keeping yourself in excellent physical condition, there's one final physical exercise that you can do before you walk into a sales appointment. Deep breath, which you should do as a part of your mental rehearsal before every sales meeting. You start by taking a few deep breaths. Inhale as deeply as possible as you can and push your diaphragm down with the inhalation. When you exhale, expel every bit of breath out of your lungs. Roll your shoulders forward and backward. This works the kinks, stress, and nervousness out of the upper half of your body. Finally, shake your hands as though you were shaking water off the tip of your fingers. This action takes much of the stress out of your body. The combination of breathing, rolling your shoulders, and shaking your hands gives you a feeling of being relaxed and in control. When you walk into the sales appointment, you'll be ready to perform at your best. Presentation process. Once you've established a high level of rapport and trust and clearly identified the major problems or need that the prospect has, you're ready to begin your sales presentation. You may or may not have found the hot button at this point, but you remain alert for the kind of reaction from the customers that will indicate that you have touched the critical nerve. You are now ready to begin the formal presentation. The best way to begin is to restate the problem or goals that you and the customer have mutually identified. Mr. Prospect, your primary concern seems to be to maintain the quality and quantity of your existing production levels and to reduce cost at the same time. Is that correct? Before you begin your presentation, you must get agreement from the prospect that what you're talking about and what he's concerned about are the same thing. If you don't, you'll be going down one road, playing one tune, while he's going down another, playing something else. Your presentation should move from the general to the particular. You should begin by explaining how your product or service was developed to solve a particular problem or satisfy a particular need. You can explain different approaches that your company took to this situation and why you finally settled in this product or service as the very best of all possible solutions. It is important that you get understanding and agreement at each step of your presentation. Inexperienced salespeople often rush through the presentation from beginning to end without inviting any feedback from the customer. But experienced salespeople divide the presentation into a series of discrete units and tie a bow around each one as they go by asking for feedback and by the use of trial closing. A trial close is something that can be answered by either a yes or a no without ending the sales presentation. Example of trial closing statements, which are often called check closes, are: how does this sound to you? Does this make sense to you so far? Would this particular feature be useful to you in your current operation? Do you like this color? Will this be an improvement over what you're doing right now? Is this what you had in mind? This basic formula for successful presentation that I have used throughout the years is summarized in 3 words: show, tell, and ask questions. Show the prospect a particular fact or feature. Tell the prospect what it means to him in terms of a benefit, and ask a question to test whether this particular benefit is important to him. An excellent way to make a presentation is to write down each point or use prepared pages that enable you to show, tell, and ask questions on each one. As you move from the general to the particular, you move from simple facts and observations that are easy to agree with towards more complicated and specific conclusions that the customer must reach before he can agree to buy your product. At each stage, you check with the customer to make sure you are both on the same track. If at any time your customer becomes reluctant or hesitant, stop your presentation and ask, do you have any question or concerns about that? So this is your stuff for our reading this morning. Okay, we looked at the 6th and final presentation tool, which is excellent health habits. So the quality of a personal magnetism that you emit as a salesperson affects the customer at a subconscious level and has a great influence over the eventual result of sales. So as a salesperson, you have to be positive, You have to be energetic, you have to be alert, you have to be enthusiastic, you have to be bright and cheerful. All these things, give the customer an immediate impression of who you are, and to help you to maintain and build a high profile as a sales person. So you have to do that, you have to cultivate exercise habits, sporting habits. You have to look fit to create a positive impression on your customer or on your client. You have to create a very powerful influence in terms of sales or when having a conversation with them. So it is important to keep yourself, and as important to have an excellent physical healthy habits. Just have an excellent physical condition. Then the next part we looked at is the presentation process. So once you've established a high rapport, you've gained the customer's trust and you've clearly identified the customer's problem. The next thing to do is to look for the customer's hot button. Even if you've not found the customer's hot button, it is also important that the customer is following your own objective, and to do that you have to pause for a while and ask questions. Ask if the customer understands where you're going to, what you're talking about, and the rest of it. So it's advising us that your presentation should move from the general to the particular, and you should begin your presentation by explaining how your product and services was developed, and how it's going to solve a particular problem that that company is facing at that time that will satisfy their particular need. So it is also important that your customer gets to understand and also have an agreement with you at each point of your sales conversation, to know if they are following what you're saying or if they are not following what you're saying. It's just, I can give example of a teacher teaching a class, and at every point or at every interval, when he or she has explained a particular thing and he or she is like, I hope you're following, I hope you understand, and the class may reply yes or no, or we don't understand. At the point like that, there's always something, to help know if your client is following you or not. So it's defined that as a check closer or a closing statement. That is something that needs a yes or a no answer. It also gave examples of how you can, ask this question, or how to ask this question. Well, example, e.g., he said, how does this sound to you? These are questions you can ask to confirm if your client is actually following what you're saying. So does this make sense to you so far? What I'm saying, do you understand it? Would this particular feature be useful to you in your current operations? Do you like the color? Will this be an improvement over what you're doing right now? Is this what you had in mind? So all these are confirmation questions to know if your client is actually following what you are doing. Okay, so all these questions are asked so that you'll be able to observe and know if your customer agrees with whatever product or service you're trying to sell to him or her. So this is where we'll stop for our reading today. Thank you.